Hello everyone, it is Lindsay Satterfield here and it is back to school time, and for me that means back to Facebook Live. So it's great to see you and I'm happy to be here, and I want to talk to you today about this very thing, about back to school. And I want to take back to school, this memory we all have of going back to school, or maybe it's very present for you, and apply it to back to productivity. I'm going to give you 7 ways to take the back to school vibe and apply it to productivity. Are you ready? So first, let's talk about why back to school is so memorable and something that we kind of, regardless of how long you've been out of formal education, you still remember those back to school vibes, right? So September rolls around and I start getting those memories of what it was like to start a new school year. And again, this year is a little different, right? Nonetheless, we are, kids are going back to school in some form or another. It's the beginning of a new school year, at least in the Northern Hemisphere. So we're gonna take that, well, let me talk a little bit about that. That is one of the reasons back to school is so memorable, is because it's a rhythm, and human beings love rhythm. We're designed with rhythm, right? The breath, the heartbeat, the seasons. So rhythm for humans is very comforting. So when we, so when we're in a time that is challenging, is difficult, like now, when we're in a time that's challenging, rhythm is a way to feel comfort, to experience comfort. So it's especially important to remember that now, is what kinds of rhythms can I put in my life that allow me to navigate a time that's very uncertain and volatile and challenging for many people that have some level of difficulty with. So back to school, the back to school vibe has rhythm. The other thing the back to school vibe has is it's a new start. And humans also love a new start, a fresh start. We just love that, right? We love the new year because we feel like we have a new chance, a new opportunity. So it's great to learn the art of the restart from a productivity perspective. So learning the art of the restart is how you stay in the game over the long term. So back to school, the back to school vibe has that fresh start. And actually there's a phenomenon called the fresh start effect that is in play when we start something new. And it's what happens is we have a heightened awareness when we have a fresh start, during a fresh start, that allows us to make more intentional decisions. So we're more aware of our environment, we're more aware of our impact, and we can make intentional decisions. In fact, I was reading an article about how during the mandated stay-at-home, when people had to go home and work from home, and many of you are probably still working from home, that shift created what was called a fresh start effect. And so many people started to question how they were doing work, right? Because they were in a totally new environment. So that's the idea of, hi Leslie. So that's the idea of the fresh start effect. And we can take the back to school vibe and apply it to productivity to have our own fresh start to productivity. So let's see, anything else I want to tell you? Okay, here we go. So there's going to be 7 things that are back to school that we're going to apply to back to productivity. And you want to start, before we get into the 7, you want to start with looking at what are my commitments and what are my goals for the upcoming, let's just say for the rest of this year. We need short-term horizons right now, right? So for the rest of this year, what are my goals? What's important to me? What do I want to achieve? What do I want to accomplish? What do I want to change? Go ahead, very fresh start. So yeah, so we want to figure out what that is, because these elements will apply to that. So number 1 of 7 of taking back to school, back to productivity, is your schedule, right? So the end of the summer, schedules get a little crazy, a little loose, right? The bedtime changes, the wake up time changes. So when you go back to school, you have a more regular schedule, right? You have to be out the door at a certain time or at your computer station or whatever this year. So you have a schedule that you have to follow. So from a productivity point of view, think about that sleep that you need and come up. Yes, as an adult, you need a bedtime and a wake up time. So what is your wake up time? What is your bedtime? Have you been getting enough sleep so that you can perform in the way that you want to perform? Think about your schedule in terms of movement and exercise. Are you getting enough exercise? When are you doing it? Schedule it. Get it into the routine, into the schedule. Are you taking enough breaks? What are you doing if you're working from home with that commute time you used to have? Are you just filling it in with more work, or are you using it to transition into your work day? So look at your schedule. Is your schedule working? How could it work better? And I also want to let you know that in the comments below after we're done with this live, I'm going to put a link so that you can get a free download to a master schedule for your household, because I know with everyone being at home in many cases, kids learning from home, parents working from home, adults working from home, whatever your situation is, it sometimes gets a little confusing keeping track of all that and who needs to be where when. So I have a household schedule template that I will give you access to. Okay, that's number one, schedule. Number two is supplies. I mean, who does not love some new supplies, like office supplies, school supplies, whatever your thing is? Staples is my friend. So anyhow, what do you need? So thinking about supplies from a productivity point of view, what tools do you most need that could really enhance your productivity? Do you want to try out do you want to get more familiar with how you're spending your time? You could use a time tracker like Toggle. Do you want a task management tool? Do you want a nice journal? Do you want better pens or pencils? Like whatever it is, those new school supply things, oh my gosh, the best part, honestly. It's new supplies. So we can laugh about the supply part because some of us are a little weird that way, but looking at what kinds of tools you need is really important. And then select what's going to have the greatest impact on my productivity. What tool will I try out? Don't do everything, just do one or two things. Okay, so we have schedule, we have supplies, new supplies. Okay, let's talk about clothes. All right, this is a fun one. So I remember growing up, that was such a fun thing. You'd get a new outfit or two, you'd get a new pair of shoes. It was super fun. So I am going to apply that to productivity, and especially now when many people are working from home and may have been in the same sweatpants for many, many, many days. So even though you may not be putting on a suit or a dress or more formal wear, maybe it would help your productivity to amp up your yoga gear or whatever it is that you're wearing. Something new has the effect of getting your attention and making you feel good. In fact, a client of mine just posted the other day a very funny post to me about wearing a dress. Like she wore a dress the other day and it was, amazing to her, like what it did to up-level her performance. So look at the clothes. So schedule, supplies, clothes. Okay, so when you go back to school, you have a new classroom. That may be a little different in today's makeshift environment that we're in with school, but you have a new classroom. Applying that to you for your productivity. What's the environment where you do your work? Is it conducive to doing work, or are you still in the bedroom and it all is mixed up? So think about ways that I remember going into, in grade school especially, loving all those bulletin boards, like honestly, the best thing. So that's all there to inspire you, right? Is to make you feel excited about learning. So does your environment where you're working make you feel inspired to work? May help you focus working? Or is it really distracting? So get your classroom, get your workroom together. Okay, so we have schedule, supplies, clothes, classroom, and now your classmates. So that was fun, right? Sometimes you have the same class, but sometimes you go back and have a new set of classmates. So those connections are so important, and as I've said many times, humans are pack animals, so we need to consider the social element, and it's so important right now when many of us are not able to get together in person. So think about what types of connections, how do I want to build my network? Who do I want to engage with? Do I want to join a book club? Do I want to join a professional association? Do I want to get to know this colleague better and have lunch with them? So be deliberate from a productivity point of view about how you're engaging with others. Are there other people you want to add into the mix? And I want to back up and say, when I'm talking about productivity, just to be crystal clear, and if you've followed me or know me, you know that my definition of productivity, it's not just about how you can be busy all day and just put out a whole bunch of stuff. It's about having the power to have the impact that you want, that you most want. That's what we're talking about in work and in life. That's what I'm talking about when we talk about productivity. Okay, so we have classmates, and next one, number 6, is new classes. So learning is a thing, right? We are, the growth mindset matters. It keeps us engaged. So take a look at what you're up to, what those commitments and goals are for the next several months, and see, is there any kind of learning that would support me in that? There's so much going on and available now to us online. So go and see, is there some way that I can up-level my skills in some way or engage in a different way and learn something I'm interested in? This past year, with all the conversation around racial justice, a lot of people have been reading a lot about the issues around racial justice to educate. So figure out what it is that you're interested in, or what skills or knowledge would help you in in the impact that you want to have, and go find some way to learn. New classes. And the last one is extracurricular activities. Extracurricular activities. So what other things can you engage in? You know, we're in more confined radius. We're not moving around quite as much. We're not traveling. So how are you bringing other ideas, other activities, other things that you enjoy into your life? Because that for sure will up-level your productivity. So what extracurricular activities do you want to incorporate as you go back to productivity, back to school? So those are my suggestions: schedule, supplies, clothes, classroom, classmates, classes, and extracurricular activities. And I want to tell you that I'm going to put in the comments below a link to get a back to productivity checklist that's different than what I just talked to you about. It's based on my model for productivity that includes 5 major skill sets, which are motivation, mindset, vitality, method, and connection. And it gives you a few little things to try out to get back to productivity. So if you'd like that, check that out. The schedule will be there too. And I think that's it for today's Facebook Live. It's nice to be back here, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.